Should be now live on air. Kia ora tātou, welcome along to the second in our series of uLearn Live at Lunch to give you a taste of what's happening at uLearn next week. We've got a panel of guests with us today. I'll let them introduce themselves. I'm Tara Fagan, I'm a facilitator with Core Education, and great to have you part of our Connected Educator program. Connected Educator is designed to provide support and promote networked approaches to education. For the next 3 weeks, we're offering a range of free online access to regional and global workshops. So tune in, check our live event calendar and see what's happening. Just on that note, I'm going to hand over to Anaru to introduce himself and then on to Mark and Nathaniel. Kia ora.
Kia ora tātou, ko Anaru White tōku ingoa, no Taranaki hau, engari kei oto tahi o e noho ana. Hi everyone, my name's Anaru White. I live in Christchurch and I too am a facilitator with Core Education and the Connected Learning Advisory, which I'll talk more about shortly. Kia ora.
Talofa lava, I'm Mark Adrian. I'm a core facilitator down in Christchurch as well. Currently working in the Hornby cluster with the Manaia Kalani Outreach Program. And I'll be talking a bit about digital tools and writing later on.
Kia ora koutou, I'm Nathaniel Lowrens, also a facilitator with Core Education. I work in the Learning with Digital Technologies PLD program, as well as enabling e-learning online, and with Anaru in the Connected Learning Advisory. I'll be talking shortly about a couple of the workshops I'm running, working with in uLearn around blogging and PLD. Kia ora.
Kia ora, thank you. Right, we're going to get started with our first question today. Tell us a little bit about what you're presenting at uLearn, and Anaru, going to come back to you to talk about some of the work that you're doing while you're at uLearn.
Thanks, Tara. Yes, I've got 2 breakouts that I am doing. The first one I am working with a colleague, Karen Miller-Spencer, and we are talking about the Connected Learning Advisory, and which is a ministry-funded service free to schools that what the advisory can do to help support schools and kura around the use of digital technologies to help support teaching and learning within schools. So we're going to have a look at that. Share some stories of what the advisory has been doing with schools so far this year. It started at the beginning of the year, so we're going to share some of the stories that the advisory has I suppose taken place already with some of the schools and kura throughout New Zealand, and in some of the I suppose interesting things that have popped up, all the different opportunities. And plenty of time to kind of hear from the participants who arrive as well about what's happening within their schools, so that really sharing the learning. And the second one I'm doing is around BYOD, bring your own device, specifically for kura. So looking at it from a kura lens, putting that lens on it, and asking those questions around what the kura needs to think about when they are looking at going BYOD, around the infrastructure. Obviously the devices, and a big one there too about the pedagogy, involving the whānau, involving the community as well. And again, I'm really big into kind of telling stories, and one thing that I suppose a benefit of my role as part of the advisory is I get to hear these stories. I get to be involved in these stories, and therefore what a great way to kind of share these stories via uLearn as well, and also throughout the Connected Educator month as well. So that's just a brief intro to the 2, I suppose, breakouts, tasters that I'm doing during uLearn.
Fantastic, thanks Anaru. Over to you, Mark, and a little bit about what you're doing at uLearn.
Well, again, I've got 2 sessions as well. The first one, I'm quite passionate about writing digitally. I was a boy that my memories of primary school are having my papers all ripped out of my book because I couldn't do my handwriting very well, and I spent many a morning tea doing handwriting. So I'm quite passionate about the tools and the technologies that we've got available now for writing, using shared docs, using speech to text, and using text to speech tools. And so what my first one is around just the apps and extensions, and also for either the Chrome or also for iPads, around how we can engage our learners and make them successful with using these tools. And I'm in a lot of schools as well, so I get to see a lot of stories and get to experiment, I guess, on a lot of kids and see how these tools can engage and actually make them quite successful in their writing, which then makes the teaching a lot easier. And the second one is just a lot of the time I find with writing and that, especially when you give students one-to-one devices, the teacher all of a sudden forgets about teaching group writing and they go to individual, whole class sort of sessions. And so I've sort of just framed up a few wee templates that I've used as a shared writing doc that can be used with either writing as a small groups or across the whole class, and it enables learners to see what each other are doing. It's very much based on the stuff that Jill Hammonds does or did with, or still does, I suppose, with Ethernet and that. And yeah, I've had a chance to have some tries, so I've got some examples of that sort of stuff, and just want to share some stories as well, and just enabling all learners really, so that they feel successful and get on to that writing.
Great, thanks Mark. Sounds really interesting, particularly around writing. It's one of my passions as well, about getting kids engaged in writing. Nat, over to you and for a little bit about what you're doing at uLearn.
Right, so the first workshop I'm involved in is professional blogging for beginners, and I love blogging. I've been blogging now for a few years, and it's just blogging reflectively for myself and sharing my practice, but also reading other teacher blogs has just been so beneficial to my learning and my practice as an educator. So I'm working with Alex Lalong from Western Heights High School in Rotorua in this workshop. We're taking people through how to get started with blogging, why you'd even want to blog as a professional, and just setting people up with the blog at the time. So I think it's going to be a great session, good opportunity for people to really think about how they share their practice with others and also connect with others through blogs. The second session's PLD in your PJs, where I'm presenting with colleague Tessa Gray, looking at the enabling e-learning and virtual learning network sites, which is like New Zealand's virtual staff room, and how teachers can engage with these sites and have good pedagogical discussions that are rigorous, and also how you can combine those with social networking sites such as Twitter, Facebook, and so on to grow your informal PLD and your practice.
Great, thanks Nat. And Nat, you talked a lot about blogging, particularly in terms of your first presentation. So it's a good time to remind people, if they're tuning in, that there is currently an EdBlog NZ challenge going or running as part of Connected Educator Month that sets a challenge for everyone in terms of blogging, and there's been some really lovely blog posts, really deep and reflective blog posts actually coming through already so far. So we're only the second day into the challenge starting, and we've got some great blogs coming through. So if you haven't checked those out on the Connected Educator site. Now, just before we go into the next question, one of the things I thought I'd take the opportunity to do while we've got these three here is they're all involved in schools, and so I'm just going to ask them to see what they think about how educators are connecting outside their schools or outside their local communities with other educators. What's your experience in terms of how far, or what are you seeing in terms of educators connecting? So in the schools that you're working with, are you seeing them reach out to other schools and other communities around connecting with others? And I'll just let any one of you answer that, or you can all go for it.
I think just jumping on for what Nat said about his, I suppose, making it the PLD in pyjamas part, I'm seeing a lot of, I suppose, colleagues, educators, teachers, like making use of social media. And that's your Twitter, etc. And it's quite I suppose for a lot of us, it's a forum that we've used. If it's Facebook, I know there's a teacher's Facebook page, and there's Twitter, and there's other platforms as well. But that seems to be a really effective use of, I suppose, time outside the classroom for teachers to kind of make those connections with educators who have obviously the similar passions. Obviously, in education, and it's just a really effective way for them just to say, oh, what's happening out there. Also to, hey, I've got this particular set of work or something coming up. What kind of ideas have you got out there as well? So I'm seeing a lot of use and effective use of social media in the, as well, and obviously with the like of hashtags and etc. and the other functions of social media, you can start really making lists. You can really, I suppose, streamline the streams, the tweets, etc., that you get through as well.
And from my point of view, I've seen, I guess the easiest one for teachers to interact with if they don't mind their professional and personal lives coming together is Facebook. And that, like Anu was saying about the New Zealand primary school groups one, and there's an MLE group as well. And there's really is a lot of people putting good discussions up on there, and they seem to be a bit more relaxed discussions than what you get on some of the more formal social media or professional learning networks. The other area that I'm seeing a bit of growth in our area is the Google Plus communities and using Google Plus, and they seem to be quite a good place. With Facebook, you tend to lose the posts because they drop off the bottom, whereas the Google Plus, you can put them into their subtitles, and yeah, you sort of can keep track of things a bit better and a bit easier. But yeah, definitely, it seems though that the big thing is sustainability with those sort of professional learning groups, and it's giving the teachers plenty of options, so that they can choose the one or two that work for them, and then make it sustainable in the long term.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything that's been said. You know, there's so much online, excuse me, connections going on. But if I think about some of the blended connections that are going on as well, here in Wellington we have Welly Ed, which is a connected teacher group where they connect both through Twitter, through Google Plus groups, but also face-to-face at Edu camps, which go around the country, Edu Ignite evenings, and now there's all sorts of other discussions going on as well, afternoons, meeting up, end-of-term drinks, all those sorts of things, and lots of professional learning going on through those blended and face-to-face methods. So it's really exciting what's going on around the country.
Great, thank you. And I think a lot of what you've said is relevant. For a lot of us, it's about the options that we've got. It's about being able to choose the professional learning that we want in our own time, being able to streamline it and make the most of those options. So whether it is PD and our PJs, because we're able to choose the time we like or the stream we like, it's about being able to choose where our learning sits. So look, thanks for that. I'm just going to move us along now, and you're all experienced uLearn attendees. What's some advice that you might give for someone who's attending uLearn for their very first time, or perhaps some advice for an experienced uLearn attendee?
Wow, where to start? I think one thing that for the first attendee, or even I suppose the experienced one, there are just so many opportunities, I suppose, to connect people. We're going to use that kind of theme throughout today as well. And you would have already booked your breakouts, and obviously there's all the keynotes, etc. as well. But the big thing is trying to make use of all those connections, and you just can't be physically everywhere and see all the ones in there. But it's just such a good way. We kind of talked just briefly about social media, but uLearn is just such a good way to actually start making those connections. And that would be one of my big tips that when you go to uLearn is to look, if you're going by yourself or going as a group of staff, for your staff PD, then to make those connections, because there's just such a good opportunity with, as I said before, people with the same interests, passions, educators, and what a great way just to kind of start, hey, this is what our school's going through. There may be a school who's going through a similar journey. There may be a school there who's gone through that exact same process, so this is a good example. And also to think about how to document your learning as well. Now, there's different ways in there, and it might just be pen and paper, taking a journal, or what a good way now to actually start a blog and start linking it to perhaps your professional appraisal and all the rigid teacher criteria as well. But that's getting a little bit technical. My big tip there is just kind of make use of those connections, actually just to take some time and just think, right, what do I actually want to get out of this? What are some of my goals? What are some of the key things as well? And then just go, enjoy, and by all means ask people if in doubt as well, because that's what it's all about, making those connections.
Thanks, Anu. Go ahead, Mark.
definitely ask people. I mean, everyone's in the same boat up there, and if you're unsure about things, just ask somebody. And yeah, those, like Anna said, the connections. But also knowing how you learn. Like, there's nothing wrong if you're getting a bit overwhelmed by everything to take a bit of time and just go and reflect somewhere quietly and get your thoughts back into line and that. I use Twitter quite a lot when I'm at uLearn because it's a good way for me to get my thoughts of a keynote or something down into a short little burst that I can reflect on. But yeah, just have fun. Learning's got to be fun, and if you're having fun, you'll enjoy it a lot more, and just keep those connections growing while you're up there.
Yeah, agreed. A lot of everything that has been said I was going to say as well. I'd say, you know, if you're on Twitter or somewhere, make sure your Twitter handle's written on you somewhere so people can go, hey, I know who you are, and it's, you know, help make those connections, put a face to those Twitter handles and those names that, you know, you may have talked to for even a couple of years sometimes and you have never actually met face to face. It's a really good opportunity. Around grab the notes in the best way for you. One way I've found quite useful is just capturing notes through Twitter and then maybe blogging at the end of the day, for example, 3 key points from each session I went to. Not trying to remember absolutely everything. Just keep it simple.
Fantastic. Some really good points there, and it is about, I agree, about having fun, making those connections. And as Nat said, it's lovely to be able to meet someone face to face that you've had all these online exchanges with, whether it's through Google Plus or whether it's through Twitter. There's that real excitement about being able to meet them face to face. If you are on Twitter, there is a Twitter dinner happening at uLearn, which I will think is on the Wednesday night. That's on the Connected Educator calendar, so feel free to go in and have a look at that. The other thing you might like to do if you're new to uLearn is come and see us at the Connected Educator Lounge. We are on level 5 at Sky City, right outside the keynote area. We've got a very skilled team in social media use who will be on hand to help you make your journey into Twitter or other forms of social media, or perhaps if you've been there and you want to expand the way that you use any form of social media, we'll be able to help you with that as well. So that's the Connected Educator Lounge, level 5, Sky City at uLearn. Just before we go, our final question I'm going to put to our panel today is, why do you love being a connected educator? What does your professional learning network offer you, and what is it you love about being connected online?
I think back to kind of my tastes that I'm talking about. I kind of mentioned how I like stories, and for me, being a connected educator, I like to hear other people's stories because I can relate to them. I like to see why they're at that place, what was the kind of inkling, the kind of well, actually let's go along this way, just to kind of hear that back stuff. And sometimes, obviously, data, you don't get that information, but a good story does, and everyone likes a good story. And for me, being a connected educator means that I can connect with people, obviously, but I can hear their stories and hear what they're doing from there. And likewise, through my role, and I'm fortunate enough to kind of interact with a lot of other educators, I can make those connections for people as well. And for me, one of my passions is around Māori education, and then I know some people who I follow on social media, and I've actually made contact with them through social media, or actually just other people have connected me to them as well. And from there, we can start sharing stories, we can then start seeing resources, and things get a lot easier that way as well, because big ones about the resources, you know, they're out there, but it's not easy to kind of always find. And also, I know a lot of colleagues I have as well, instead of starting from scratch, I've got I can make a connection for them as well. So for me, about being reason why I like the connected educators is for that good chance to hear stories, to be able to make connections for people as well. I think is important. Because there's just so much information out there, but it's about trying to find that as well. And for me, being connected, I can follow the people I like, know the people who have got similar interests with me, and when it comes to me wanting to learn more about a particular topic, then I know exactly, hey, this is where I need to go. And likewise, I hope people can come to me as well and ask me those questions as well for those connections.
For me, being connected, I guess, when I was in the classroom, it was a very lonely place, as I wasn't very connected, and my practice was quite siloed. And so now being connected, it's just so much easier to, one, just feel like you know what you're doing, because often just actually being connected with someone else is finding out that what you're doing is right. It's the same as what other people are doing, and it sort of validates you, gives you a wee bit more confidence, and then allows you to move forward down the path you want to go. I really enjoy, with me, I need to talk in order to work my way through things and ideas and that, so being connected online, even though it's not directly talking, it's still conversations going and ideas flowing backwards and forwards that allow you to change your own thinking if needed. Because often we get stuck in our own thinking until we're provoked or had the opportunity to see a different way of doing something. And I think by being connected, it offers many, many more of those opportunities to come along, so that you can actually, look at improving your practice. And like Anaru said as well, just the ability to get resources. You know, there's so much out there, but it's also, I think, for me, being connected, it's also finding a way that's manageable, so that you're not overloaded with your connections as well. So, there's a few different workflow things that I use to ensure that my connections stay manageable and sustainable, and I don't get too overwhelmed by information. So, yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's all about learning. Learning, first and foremost, for me as an educator, as a teacher, you know, being challenged in what I do, and how I work with my students, or currently the teachers I work with as well. But it's also about, ultimately, it's about those students, and, you know, getting different ideas from different educators and different teachers from around New Zealand, around the world, you know, trying those out, seeing how they go, hearing the stories of the good, the bad and the ugly, you know, that they're all important to hear and to know, you know, how things have really gone on for different people. So yeah, it's really about the learning for me.
Great, thank you. And I'm just going to add to that too, because for me it's probably one of my most preferred methods of learning, because I can tap into exactly what I want, and once I found the right people to follow, particularly on Twitter, it just all fell into place, and it's become a really valuable part of my professional life, both in terms of learning but also in terms of sharing as well. So thank you to our panel. Just before we finish up, I would just like to invite you all to tune in tonight to Grant Leichman. He's a uLearn keynote speaker. He's going to be talking about transformation in education and what we can learn, and some of his experiences from his travels around America. He is live tonight at 8 p.m. on if you go to our Connected Educator site, connectededucator.org.nz. On the events calendar, the link is there. And he will be coming in live tonight from 8 till 9. He's going to be interviewed by Steve Mouldy, and we're going to have a discussion with him about some of the patterns that he's seeing. So it will be, we're hoping it'll be interactive, so you'll be able to ask questions via Twitter, and we'll just have a nice conversation. Along with Grant's interview, it is our official opening of Connected Educator, so we're also opening at the same time. So just on that note, I think we're going to wind up today. I'd like to thank our panel very much for coming along. I'd like to thank our viewers, whether you're watching it live with us now or whether you're watching it at a later stage, because of course all these sessions are recorded. We hope you've enjoyed it. Come and visit us at the connectededucator.org.nz site, but also come and see us next week if you're at uLearn. We'll be streaming lots of uLearn goodness out from the event, but we're also here to help. So come and see us next week. Thanks again, everyone. We're just going to sign out now, and thank you so much for coming along.